What's up, party people? It's KeysDAN with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live in a living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability, get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Are you not entertained? Let me entertain you. Speaking of entertainment, today on the program, I have legendary performer Fraser Newcombe. Oh yeah, he's been doing it for a bit. He's out of Halifax, Nova Scotia. That's up in Canada for all of my friends that don't know geography. And he's been doing it since he was 9 years old, or since he was a wee tot. And, he's been playing this country music, this good old time country music. And I'm very excited to let you hear a little bit more about Fraser Newcombe. So stoked. And he's also involved with the big records and the Rise Up TV. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the next few minutes as well. Oh, this week's shows. Let's see. I have one public show for you this weekend. It's on Friday at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, the Video Dance Party Karaoke Jam. Yes, I said karaoke. You're the stars of the show. They got a full bar, kitchen's open, good food in the kitchen. Check that out. Pool tables. They got 10 diamond style professional pool tables, and they got a pool tournament on Friday night. So if you want to try your hand at playing pool and possibly make some money while you're doing it, I encourage you to check out the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. Good times at the Rab. Starts at 8 p.m. on Friday night, and we go until 12:30 in the AM in the wee hours of the morning on Saturday. And then on Saturday, I do have kind of a public show. If you care to run, I will be part of the Conway, Arkansas marathon. I'll be on the corner of Nutter's Chapel and Old Military, playing music for the runners as they run by. The gentlemen or the people at that corner allow me to use the electricity in their house. So I'm very excited to be doing this again. I think this is either the second or third. It's at least the second time that I've been playing music for the Conway, Arkansas marathon. So if you're anywhere in Conway, Arkansas, and you want to run, or you just want to come say hi, I'll be wearing my toga. I'm not sure if I'm going to wear the white toga or the black toga or a red and white checkered toga like they did on Animal House, but I'll be there playing the music for the people that are running by. I'm not running. No. I'll be running the soundboard, and that's as much running as I'm going to be doing. And that's Saturday morning. And then Saturday evening, I have a wedding. Yeah. So unless you're invited, you cannot come to this wedding. Why am I mentioning it? Because I love doing weddings. I love being part of people's big days. It's Derek's wedding. And if you don't know Derek's last name, then obviously you weren't invited. But I've been friends with Derek for a long time, and I'm really excited that he invited me to be a part of his big day. And I get to play the music for him and his family and his lovely bride, of course. Not necessarily in that order. Let me try that again. Him, his lovely bride, and his family and friends. Yes. So I get to be a part of their big day. Very excited. Speaking of excited, let's get into it with the Fraser Newcombe. Now, I got him on Zoom. So if you're listening to the audio version of this, I encourage you to check out the video version on my YouTube page, youtube.com/user/KeysDAN. Zooming Fraser Newcombe now.
There you go. You hear me?
Hey, there he is. As I live and breathe, Fraser Newcombe in my face. Oh, I'm so happy to see you. It's been a tough time trying to figure out these time zones, but I think we've finally figured it out.
We got it figured out now.
Yes. How are things in Halifax, Nova Scotia?
Well, snowy a little bit.
Well, I always think of Canada as being ice and snow all the time, 365 days a year. And I've been told that it's not like that. There are about 3 or 4 days of summertime.
Well, actually, this year it seemed like that.
Well, I mean, tell me. All right, I've looked you up a little bit. I've found a little bit about you. You got that old timey, that taking it back to classic country that I love. That it's got the twang, it's got the steel guitars, it's got it's got the feeling of old country from the 30s, from the 40s, from even into the 50s. Give the people an idea of who you are, Fraser Newcombe.
Well, I just I was into music since I was a kid, actually, and then I dropped it when I went in the service. I stopped it, and then when I come back, we sort of got together. There's a family band. We had a big reunion, and the family all went their separate ways. So I stayed on as a solo, and so I kept on going. Then I started writing songs, and here I am today.
See, there's always that one in the family. They call it the black sheep of the family, the one that doesn't go the route of a normal, quote unquote, business plan. You take your, you could be a doctor, a lawyer, somebody, an upstanding citizen of the country, of the community, but you've taken this business we call show and made it your life. But I want to go back a little bit. There's a small little bio on your Twitter that says you were born in Murphy's Cove on the Eastern Shore of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Coming from a large family of 9 children, he learned the value, and it stops there. Learned the value of what?
Well, learned the values of just general home-style living, and the values of the I worked in the lumber camps when I was 12 years old, driving a horse. So
wait a minute. Now we're going back. You can't be that old, man. There were cars invented. There was machinery. The cotton gin was around when you were born. But you say you were still on horse drawn, and I know that didn't go out of fashion really until cars got a little more trustworthy. So in Nova Scotia, you're working horse and buggy still.
Horse and buggy, yeah. But back in the 50s, 60s, there were still horse and buggies.
Okay.
Actually, in the 60s, 70s, there was horses that worked in the lumberwood. There was no machinery back there then, down here anyway. They would have been in the USA or Western Canada. But we were brought up the hard way. And then in the spring, we'd go lobster fishing and haul 365 lobster pots by hand. No trawler, no haulers, no nothing, no automatic stuff then. Just plain brine muscle.
Now you're playing my song. I'm from the Florida Keys, so I know about lobsters. I've never taken 365 at a time, but I've taken one at a time where I go down and free dive. Now, my stepdad is really good at free diving, 10 or 12 or even 20 feet and grabbing one of the bugs and bringing them back up to the surface. But you're taking them a lot at a time. Now, the other thing that I'm tickled by is your horse and buggy. I think you would have lived just fine amongst the Pennsylvania Dutch, the Amish. Are you a man living without electricity, without the comforts of life? Did you have an outhouse? Tell me the story of a young Fraser Newcombe.
Well, when I was born, when we were young, when I was probably 8 or 9, I remember the old outhouse. There was no doubt in that. And we had a 2-story, and the girls were up on the top story, and we were down below.
Let's hope that the outhouse was not on the top story, and they were doing their business to you down below.
The men were down below.
Okay. I used to have my grandparents had a place in Ramrod Key down in the Florida Keys, and it was a 2-bedroom. I think it had electricity, but I do remember that it had an outhouse. So as a child, yes, I remember going to an outhouse when I visited Grandma and Papa. So, there is that. But I didn't have, I feel like I always had the creature comforts. But you were born in a time way before this technology where I could speak to someone in Halifax. Maybe Dick Tracy was a comic strip where he had his special watch that he could see, his 2-way wristwatch radio, where he could see his boss and get the information that he needed to get the job done. But here we are all the way in the future, doing what Dick Tracy only dreamed of doing when you were a child. Now, you're born, and you say you're around 9 or 10 years old in the 50s. So I'm guessing you're born, what is it, 40s maybe?
1940, October 22nd, 1940.
1940. So you lived through this time of technology, and you've seen a lot of things that have built up. Well, I mean, what are the main technological advances that you feel like have been a benefit to the world, and then which ones have been a hindrance? These kids today.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder what's good and what's bad. Like if I go back to my day, I would prefer that as compared to today. To be honest with you, I know computers and Zooms and technology is the thing of the future. I know that, but I'm not saying it's for the best or not saying it's for the worst. But it does has its pluses and its minuses.
Well, I know when I wanted to visit with my friends, I would have to physically go to their houses when I was a child in the 70s. I would ride my bike over, or before that, even walk next door, because I wasn't allowed to go outside of the block. I could only go around the block. I wasn't allowed to cross the street. So that was when I was very, very young. So the only way to visit and to know if your friends were home is to go to their house and knock on their doors and see if they were home. And that I do miss that. I do miss that. Yeah, children going outside and playing. But now, now you don't have to. Now it's you pick up your phone and you can text them. You can look at them. Okay, let's take it back to a simpler time, a simpler days. You're listening to music. You're not only listening to music, but you're making music with your family. Tell me how that came about. Whose idea was that?
Well, my father was a singer. He was a good singer. And my mother played mouth organ and she sang some. So therefore it was in the household to start with. So then all my siblings played some kind of music. We learned our own. We learned it on our own. We never took a lesson. There was no such thing as going to music lessons or anything like that. Our friends would come in with guitars and fiddles and play. And we just picked it up from there. We just kept the thing going.
Well, there's only a few good reasons to have 9 children. You could start your own baseball team, or you could start a band, and you took the latter.
We had our own band. I had my brother-in-law played fiddle. My nephew played drums. My sister played banjo. My other sister sang and played whatever, guitar and stuff. And my brother, he played fiddle and sang and all. So, and my other brother was a step dancer and an actor, sort of a thing. So we had it all. We had it all going for us, but they all went by the wayside because they didn't want to do it anymore. Blah blah blah. But I stayed with it. I stuck with it.
Well, it's a tough job. It's a hustle. It's you're always going from one gig to the next, not knowing if it's ever going to play. In fact, I had 2 gigs canceled on me last weekend because of rain, and they were both outside. So that does happen. Where I was expecting to have a paycheck last weekend, no paycheck. And that's the trouble with this show business is you never know if it's going to work out that way. It's good to have a day job, a steady gig that'll offer you maybe a morsel of a small amount of paycheck that may or may not sustain you. But with great risk comes great reward. The entertainment business, the money can be good, but the work's not steady. So you chose this life where you might be a starving artist. I've heard that term thrown around, but there was something that broke it up in the middle. You said you joined the service. Why did you join the service? It seemed like maybe you were too young for World War II and maybe just old enough for Korea. What made you join the service, and what service did you join?
I joined the service of free will. There was no action going on, and my son's cousins and what have you, they joined the service. So I thought it was only right for me to do so. So I did, and I don't regret doing it. It was good. I joined in 1959, I think it was, and I done 10 years in there. And it was a great experience. then when I got out, I still run my own business today. So I have a business, a flooring business that I run today, white plank flooring, because if I relied on the music business, I'd be hungry.
Very good that you came out with a skill well, what job did you do and what branch of service were you in?
I was in the engine room. I was an engineer.
In what branch?
Stoker.
No, what branch?
Engineering.
In the Army?
No, Navy.
Navy, okay. Ships. That's it. Naval engineers. Now, the CBs, very famous here in the United States. The naval construction. They're the ones that help build bridges all around the world. I do appreciate naval engineering for sure. I mean, is that something that you did? Did you travel around the world?
Well, I was in the engine room. In the engine room mostly, and the engineer.
Did you travel?
Oh yeah, I was sailing all over the world pretty much.
Where'd you go? What was the places to be?
Oh, I was in Bermuda. We were down through the States, all up through the Great Lakes, San Juan, Jamaica, Iceland, Greenland, you name it. We were all over. Now,
did you happen to bring a guitar with you, or a fiddle, or some sort of musical instrument?
I had a guitar on the ship with me, and a bunch of us would get together and jam here and there, do our thing, on the ship and stuff like that. It was great fun.
Yeah, I bet you that made you very popular in downtime. That's fantastic that you had that. Did any of the other crew members have instruments as well? Or?
Oh yeah, there were several on there, guitars and fiddles and banjos. Oh yeah, there was, we'd all get together in the mess and play around and have fun. And that was all, it was all good. Not all the time, but periodically.
Now, I know it wasn't easy to record things at the time. It was, you don't have any recordings of that at all.
We never had a recording. No, we didn't have any of those cell phones today that you can press a button and record.
That is correct. I mean, I know that, one thing that came out of World War II was recording, was a lot of the instruments, and that's, yes, war is bad. I don't like it. I wish we didn't fight. But technological advances are a thing when people fight with one another. They want to outdo each other, and very quickly. And one thing is that the armed services do happen to get the technological advances first. So you were at the cutting edge. Even being in the engine room, you probably had some fine engine equipment that the normal quote unquote person like myself wouldn't have. Is that right?
There was diesel engines, there was everything there. And I know, but when I had an old reel-to-reel tape recorder when I got out of the service, and I don't know whatever became of it, and moving from here to there, I guess it just got on the waylaid. But I did have one of them.
Yeah, I do appreciate a reel-to-reel. That's for my loyal listener, that's way too young to know. We used to record on magnetic tape, and one reel would hold the majority of the tape, and it would feed through a machine and be fed onto another reel. If anybody, saw a movie reel, it's similar to that, and it would get recorded onto that magnetic tape. And to edit, you had to cut and splice the tape to get things together, which is why on your computer, if you look up there, it says cut, and then the other one says paste. And that's exactly what you had to do with this tape when you wanted to record. Yeah, I did that back in the mid 80s when I first started on the radio, and I do appreciate that technology and the advancements that we made since then. But in the 50s, you didn't have that. But where did you learn the flooring business? Was that something that was also in the family, or was that something you picked up on your own?
Say again?
The flooring business, was that something in the family, or was that something you picked up on your own?
Well, yeah, years and years I did that. I started in the flooring business when I was working for other companies, and then I gradually got into it myself. And nowadays I'm into the white plank flooring, which not too many people are. It's quite different, and we have a lot of fun with it, and we make a half decent living.
Yeah, that's a thing that I missed when I was in my 20s. I used to work for True Value. We used to work for a lumber yard. I would work out in the lumber yard, cutting steel, lifting plywood, getting things, the materials needed to build anything. And then one of my great pleasures was building said things, building a little house, building a little dog house, building a bird house. That's how you start when you're a young child. But then, you start slowly grow into building, maybe making a deck for your grandmother, maybe making an off room, designing the flooring. These are things. Working with your hands is a skill that I don't want people to lose. It's slowly getting taken over by machinery. And, the AI is going to be taking over the thinking for the people, and the machines are going to be taking over the skills of the people. I mean, are you still, as a person who owns a flooring company, do you have apprentices that you start off at when they're young, and then you slowly teach them how to do things properly?
Yeah, we still do things by hand a lot now. We have machinery, of course, for the other jobs, but I've taught a lot of young kids how to work, which is the ethics of working, and which is a hard one today, because the kids today coming out there, I don't know how many I went through, but work ethics is a big thing, which the kids today are not learning. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think the kids today is probably going to be the title of this podcast, because, I think even at 54 years old, I'm thinking about the times, when I was in my 20s, I was a pipe fitter. I was working for a fire extinguisher company. I was a firefighter, but then on my off days, I would work for a fire extinguisher company, and I would learn how to fit pipe. I knew how to thread pipes, and I would work with black pipes, and my hands would come home. I would come home with black hands, all calloused, and it was good work. It was good hard work. You didn't make a lot of money at it, but it was good hard work, and it made you feel like you did something, like you accomplished something.
It was an honest living.
And you're still doing it. You're still doing it. You're still, teaching people how to make floors. What, this white plank thing? That sounds like something I want to know more about. What is the white plank?
Well, you go on my website, Newcombe's Original White Plank Flooring, and you'll see the whole thing.
I will do that. I mean, the only thing I found about your music, and I am going to get back into the music now, is you got a Twitter, you got a Facebook, and you got all your stuff. You got a few things on YouTube. But when you were with your family, with those 8 brothers and sisters, I heard a lot of fiddles, a lot of violins in there. So either you're going to go into classical music, or you're going to go into good old timey country music. Which one did you go into?
Good old timey country music, without no question.
Okay.
No question.
Now, who were the influences that you were listening to back in the 50s and 40s and 50s? Who was making you feel good and tap your feet?
Hank Snow. You ever heard tell of him?
That is what I was going to get to. Hank Snow.
Hank Snow.
Okay.
Carly.
This is a man, born at, just after the turn of the century, died just before the turn of this last century. But all through, he's doing the yodeling and the twang and the classic country style that you're feeling. You got Hank Snow, you got Hank Williams, the Hanks seem to be doing it right. When back then, and it wasn't even, I don't even think it was called country music. I think it was called music. There was either music that was good or music that was bad, and if you liked it, it got on the radio. If you didn't like it, it went by the wayside. Hank Snow, what does he mean to you?
Hank Snow was born and brought up not too far from where I am today. My father played guitar with him, with Hank Snow, at the local dance halls around this area back then, until Hank moved on to the States, where he got his horse, Shawnee, and he went on from there to become a superstar, which is a great blessing for,
Yeah, it's good to have a hometown boy that does good. He went the path of like Roy Rogers, going and making movies and TV. This is what I'm thinking, but you could tell the story more, because you not only love Hank Snow, you do a tribute show to him. And what made you want to do that?
I wrote a song about him, Hank Snow and the Battery Radio. I don't know if you heard that or not, but it's on the YouTube. And that song is in the museum down here, his museum down here today, and it became a hit over in Europe and played through the United States and Canada. That one song that I wrote is a tribute to Hank Snow. It's called Hank Snow and the Battery Radio. Back then it was the old battery radio, not electricity.
Well, I see it. I found it on the YouTube, and there's a static picture of you holding a really fancy guitar. I have no idea what that is. It looks really neat. And then there's a picture of
guitar.
What's that?
It's a lobster guitar.
A lobster guitar. I could see the pitchforks now. Now, all right. You're a man who not only fetched lobsters out of the sea, but you play a lobster. How long have you had that lobster guitar?
About 3 years now, 3 or 4 years.
Now,
that song. I went online and I searched worldwide for that guitar, for someone to make me a lobster guitar.
All right, you have to give credit. Give credit where credit is due.
Thought I was a little nuts. They all thought. So I found an 80-year-old guy in Moncton, New Brunswick, and I went to see him, and he was a guitar maker. So he looked at me like I was some kind of a nut. So so I said, well, you make me one and I'll be back. So I went back and he looked at me. He said, you were serious, weren't you? I said, yes, I was serious. I said, he said, show me what you want. I said, you're the maker. Make me a lobster guitar. I'll be back and pick it up when I do the next TV show. We were doing a TV show up that way. So sure enough, he made it. 2 months later, we were doing a show in his area. So he said he was going to bring the guitar over. So he brought the guitar over. I said, okay, thank you. How much do I owe you? Oh, no, he said, you're not getting it until you play it on stage here tonight. I never picked it up in my life. So I played it that night, a couple of songs at the show. And I stood in the lineup for 2 hours after the show with getting pictures taken and stuff with that lobster guitar. It was a real hit. And still is today when I go on stage with it. They love it.
Well, that's something that every good performer needs is a niche. Well, sometimes you need a gimmick. You know, some people are born with it. Some people can just make it on their good looks, on their talents alone. But if you have that one thing that sets you apart, if you do something poorly, do it really poorly. If you do something well, do it really well. But you decided that you wanted to have a lobster guitar. Yes, that is going to set you apart. Not only do you have the talent to play said guitar, but you have this guitar. And I'm glad you gave credit where credit is due. The man is getting up there in age. You say he's in his 80s when he's building it for you. I hope that's a skill that he's passing along to the next generation, teaching them how to build those guitars, how to make things with their hands. Man, I'm going to go back to that as well. You need to yes, a machine can probably make 3D print a guitar for you, but there's nothing like somebody using their hands to build a Stradivarius, to build a Gibson guitar, to build a Fender guitar by hand. Could you? I'm thinking about just working with your hands.
I had that guitar down, and I played the Nashville Center Stage, played Branson Center Stage. I played down Somerset, Kentucky, and they were all in awe about that guitar. Some they were calling it a crawfish. When you go farther south, that's what they think.
I could see that.
But anyway, they never seen anything like it. And they were shoving needles in the claws of it, and they're checking for drugs, which they didn't find, of course. I had some great experiences.
Well, that's part of the life of a musician. Sometimes substances are involved, so the cops are going to be a little suspicious of a musician before anybody else, even a musician that is as seasoned as you are, my friend. But hey, it is what it is. But tell me, coming up through the music business, has any of that ever been befallen you? Are you working with a band, or do you are you solo only with a guitar?
No, I have a band, or I go solo sometimes, depending on the show. And sometimes I just pick up a bass player or lead player or whatever. But I mix it up. But I do have my own band, and then we play around here quite a bit. But most of them don't want to travel anymore and all that stuff. So,
well,
I'll be going in March. I'll be going to Pigeon Forge, to the North American Country Music Association International, which I was inducted into last year. So, and I'll be going back down again this year, and we plan on doing some more tours of the States and stuff like that, have some fun. And I'll be back in Ontario, which is in Upper Canada, and we'd always do a 10-day tour up there, which we did last year. We'll be doing another one this year. And I'll be going, I think we're going to hit up a big records tour of Newfoundland and down east with Big Records. He wants me to get involved in that. I was already in New York with Big Records and around, so did a couple of tours with Rise Up TV, stuff like that. I think you're familiar with all them.
Yeah, I've been talking to a lot of the folks from Big Records, and it seems like they're pushing their artist up. You know, I don't know what they make out of it, but I'm glad to see that there's a group of people that seem to care about their musicians, that they want to get them out in front of as many people as possible, in as many ears as possible. Their artists are you know, they a lot of them have been right here where you are, right in front of me on this podcast, and I'm very excited to talk to a lot of them. The Rise Up TV is another faction of that. Is you not only get to hear the people on your various recording devices, but you also get to see them in your face on video, and it's a nice thing for me. Ever since MTV came out, I've really been fascinated by the music videos, and ever since the ability for me to put the videos together when I'm at the clubs, when I'm at the parties, where I'll put up a TV screen and I'll play the music videos. They get a visual as well as an audio, and it just adds that much more flavor for the person who's viewing, for the consumer. So, I know that you've been in this business called show, and it has to be in your blood if you've been sticking with it for all these years. I know your family, you say that they gave it up a long time ago, but obviously there's something that's pushing you to go further. Are you writing songs? Are you? Oh,
I've written about 50 songs or more. I got 4 new ones I've written now. We're just waiting to get recorded. So,
well, okay, give credit what credit is due. Who's helping you to find the recording studio, or do you have one in your own home?
One of my band members, who is he owns his own recording studio, so he and I get along quite well. But he's busy as all get out. He does all my recording, so I've got 10 out there now, 10 or 11 out there now, full-fledged CDs, and I got a lot of my own songs on there and what have you. So it's I've been busy.
Well, I noticed, for anybody listening to the audio version of this, check out the video version. You'll see that a lovely lady just came into the screen and set down a drink. And that was so nice. My wife there. Come on over. Probably your biggest fan. And hey, what does she think about all this? You going out on the road, or does she come with you?
Well, she's my enabler. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be doing any of this. She picked it up on it 15, 20 years ago when I did my first. She gave me a first recording for my birthday or something, Christmas. And that started it.
Well, every good addict needs an enabler. You know, whether you're addicted to substances or you're addicted to being on the stage in front of hundreds, maybe thousands of people, and playing for them and feeling the roar of the crowd, just feeling love and emotion from people that are playing, that are feeling good because of something that you're playing, something that you created. You have 50 songs, and I did hear the Hank Snow and the Battery Radio. It's a beautiful tune, and I'm going to put the link in the show notes below so people can hear that song as well. And that's not the only song that you have out there. You have quite a few others as well. I mean, where can people pick up all that fine music?
Well, you can go on my website, FraserNewcombeMusic.com. And it's all there. Everything's there. Or they can call Big Records. Big Records has got tracking me out wherever I go. Or they can send me an email, fraser@bellalion.net. It's all on my website anyway, so they can just call me or send me an email or whatever, and I'll make sure they get a copy.
Well, is that where people can find out where you're going to be playing? Because you did list out a big set of shows. You got a tour that's coming up.
Yeah, we got a tour coming up, and it'll all be on my website. But whatever's coming up, I'm getting stuff together, and he's going to be busy putting it on my site.
All right. Well, that'll be the top link in the show notes below. Well, I don't want to take a lot more of your time. This Zoom thing, I hardly ever use it, but it only gives me a limited amount of time. But I know we've only scratched the surface of who Fraser Newcombe is, and I encourage my loyal listener to find out more just by clicking the links. I got your Facebook, I got your Twitter, and I got your website. And then I have that Hank Snow and the Battery Radio YouTube version on there as well. But I want you to give shout outs to people, give credit where credit is due, your bandmates or whoever's helped you along the way.
Yeah, well, my bandmates is Jim Francis, Bobby Chipman, Lorna Letcher. I got several of other ones there, and but Joanne she's a pusher behind everything.
Well, that's the thing about having a bunch of bandmates. Is some of them cannot go on the road at certain times, so trying to get together a group of people to go travel with you is kind of hard to do. So it seems like you have some bandmates that are in Nova Scotia, maybe some in Kentucky, and maybe around the States.
Yeah, I do have some down the States there, down in Somerset, Kentucky. I got a band down there that's willing to jump in with me anytime. We already used them once or twice. And also in Branson, Missouri, there's a couple of guys up there that really like playing with me. So in Ontario, there's more. They're all over. Andy Crossan.
Well, it's nice to be a part of this music community. It's so interesting to know how tight-knit they are. And you have the big records. You have the Rise Up TV. I was told I needed to mention all that. So definitely you're part of that. And I'm happy that you are. Fraser Newcombe, I always finish these things off with last words for the people. I don't want this to be the last time that we talk. As time progresses and you have other things to promote, I want you to come on back anytime you want. But Fraser Newcombe, I want you to give, this could be words to live by, something you heard a long time ago, or, maybe a mantra you wake up with, or whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. Fraser Newcombe, give the last words for the people.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank you very much for having this interview. I appreciate that. I want to thank Big Records and Rise Up TV also, because they're the ones that made this possible. And looking forward to doing another interview whenever we see fit.
Words of wisdom.
Words of what?
Words of wisdom. Live for today. Don't worry about tomorrow.
Yeah, words of wisdom. Did you hear that? Live for the day, the hell of it tomorrow. That's not the way she said it.
Well, there you have it, party people. Fraser Newcombe. What a cool guy. The guy's been doing it for a long time. And he's got a lovely lady in his corner that's enabling him. That's allowing him to do these things. It's hard on the family being a touring musician. No doubt about it. If you didn't have family that was backing you up, if I didn't have family that was backing me up doing the events that I do, I'm glad that he's got love, he's got music, and he's got the flooring business as well. I'm going to have to put that flooring business in the show notes as well. If you need any flooring done in the Nova Scotia area, I don't know how far he travels, but I encourage you to check out Fraser Newcombe, because the day job is probably affording him to do the night job, and the show business, the being in front of a crowd and making people feel good just by singing and playing the music that you've created. Oh, I've never written a song, but I couldn't imagine, writing a song, producing that song, arranging that song with a group of other people, and then playing it for a crowd and that crowd just digging it. Oh, so amazing. Fraser Newcombe, thank you so much. And that Hank Snow, twangy, old-fashioned. For us, it's old-fashioned. For you, it was what you loved when you were a kid. And that is probably the music that anybody likes today at any given time. The music that you liked when you were in high school, when you graduated high school, about when you were 17, 18, 19, is probably the music that you're going to like for the rest of your life. For me, class of 86. So the music of the mid 80s, especially, but the entire 80s really is what I like. So you graduating around the 50s, mid 50s to the late 50s, that's the music that you liked. And that's when Hank Snow was really at his peak of power. And, you have not only taken his essence as a muse, but you've also added your own little spice to it. Thank you so much, Fraser Newcombe, for being on the podcast. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. I look forward to hearing more from Fraser Newcombe in the near future. I'll keep up with him on his social media and his website, of course, and hopefully he comes close to me. Branson, Missouri, not too far. I've been close to there. I haven't quite been there. Well, I guess I went through there, but it was the middle of the night and I was driving. So I never really stayed in that town for too much of a length of time. But maybe I can make it up there and get to see one of Fraser Newcombe's shows. Kind of excited. And once again, that's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. Now, that's you, I'm turning my attention to you, my loyal listener. If you'd like to tell your story, or I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email KeysDAN@AOL.com. That's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.